Welcome, Don. Hello, Cindy. Why don't you hop in, Cindy? Another volcano going off in the background. Let's get you better, darling. All right. Howdy, folks. Welcome back. First off, before we even get away from this, you see this channel, World of Signs here? Since you guys can't donate to my channel, I can't do money donations or anything. If you guys like to help out channels, go help out World of Signs here. They did a really good job these collaborations here. And these are all every single clip was a an example of what we talk here at this channel about, okay? And when we're talking pressure coming up from down below, busting out through perforations in the crust, well, it causes this kind of stuff right here, okay? That's why I use this. This is our intro. So please come over here, subscribe to them, give them a like. If you guys, help support some channels or whatever, this is a really good one to support, okay? And thank you, World of Science, for letting me use this as part of the intro, because this part right here is what we're going to be referring to later in our report, okay? All right. Meanwhile, let's get the show on the road. Here we are, 12/4/2024, December 4th, 2024. All right. And while that's loading up, I'm going to take a moment of this time to thank you for taking a moment of your time to be a part of this precious family. Okay, this is indeed something different than your regular YouTube live stream. All right, here you are a member of a very precious royal family. Okay, stick around for the spiritual report. In the end, you'll see what we're talking about. Most everybody that's here already knows. So, and as you can see, we have our spire regions that are sticking out all over the sun, and we got activity coming out of each one of them here. Not each one, but these two main ones here. So we're going to capture this opening frame here. First off, let me scooch just right. And thank you all for tolerating the cold. And I know some of you guys are feeling sick too. So we all pray for each other. We all get well sooner. So all right, here we go. Opening frame. Notice it ends at 22, so we're missing the last couple of hours. But here we are, opening frame 024 of 412 or 12/4/24. Okay, and I shouldn't have done that. Let's go right there. Okay. Now you can see our event underway over here, where our two spire regions are. It's connecting, between this little top spike right here and the bottom one. Here's your event. Okay, a bunch of little smaller objects. It looks like a little cluster going on in this one. And you can see a little different bow shock right here on this one, another one up here. So maybe if we, let's just kind of continue on that right there. Okay, this little guy right here. You can see a little plasma going over it, creating a little bow shock as it moves out. Okay, so there's that one I wanted to point out right there. Just not much to look at, but there it is. All right, so even more. Oh, all right. Let's continue on. Then this region right here, we have a little event coming out of it as well. Okay, you see other little scatter moons around here that haven't interacted but are with the sun, but are still flowing in the solar wind, moving through the flow of the solar wind. Then out of this region over here, our spire region, I told you, expect to see activity out of that region, right? Well, here it comes. Now, something came out really slow there, and when we go one frame at a time, it doesn't do it justice. And then more activity coming out of here and here again. See this little one here, some other ones scattered around. All right, so now we're going to put that back into motion. I'm going to speed it up just a tad bit so you can see the activity that's going on in this spire region over here. See, something came out and stopped, and then it flowed over it again. Looked like it kind of tried to fight and go back against the flow, and another blast pushed it back. Let's go zoom in on that little area in that event really quick here, because the rest of them are just your normal activity. But this is interesting what's going on right there. Okay, so there's your activity going on the sun. And even though everybody says it's quiet, you can see we still got stuff flowing inward down here. We got all kinds of little objects coming out, different angles and stuff as they, approach the magnetic field and then kind of bounce around it or bounce off of it, glide around it. Okay, and you can see something was in that this event right here. Watch. Right there. Some kind of a smaller. Yeah, it looked like a UFO. Whoa. Right there. Okay, let's go zoom in on that now. Slide a little bit more over. Whoa, sorry. Hold on tight, you guys. It's a roller coaster ride. All right, check this thing out right there, moving out. Okay, I'll let you guys be the judge of that as well. Let me tilt this down and try to get more. All right, I guess that's as good as we're going to get. But yeah, you can see in the flow, something moves out, stuff flows over it, and then right here it continues moving out. So let me move my hand out of the way one more time. Oh, let's darken that up. I just saw it. There you go. You guys see it now? Here, we'll slow it down one click here. Right there should be good. Oh, it's like black and has little round circles on it. Here, let's see if we can, right there. All right, let's see if we can capture that frame, right? Can we use that? Oh, okay. Oh, wait, I lost it. Let's try this one more time. Okay, I think we can just kind of, it's better when it's moving. Yeah, you can see that there's some kind of disc-shaped object in that event right there. There's another one out here front first, and then a second one right there. Watch out front here first. There's something right there. There's one, another one, and then this one right here. So maybe your computer, alien invasion thing was right. They're just not invading the Earth, they're invading the sun. But you can see there's something going on in there right there. I'll let you guys be the judge of this, okay? You're smart. You have eyes to see as well. You can come over to this instrument and look at this as well. Zoom in, darken it, do all kinds of little tricks that you see me do to make these images pop a little bit more so you can see them. Wow. It's got like little white portholes or something around the edges of it, or little windows or something. All right. Hey, so in lighter news, let's move on over to the solar ham, shall we? I'm going to brighten up the screen real quick. No, that one. All right, here we go. So some crazy activity going on around our sun, wouldn't you say? Just kind of wait. Let's center that for you right there. So there's your activity for December 4th. And it looks like just, some regular little objects moving through, our little round black ones that we're used to seeing. But hidden in there also are some ships, it appears to be. Okay. And we've seen this activity in this instrument plenty of times before. So this is nothing new. This is nothing like new discovery. We're used to seeing this stuff. Okay. All right. So, wow. Quite a capture tonight, huh? All right, let's get on over here to the solar ham here. Meanwhile, your solar flux indice is climbing. It's 175. As soon as we hit 200, it turns red. So we're creeping close to the red. We're only 25 points away, and we're up one. So while sunspot number count is down 21 spots, we're at 105. Well, can you see why we might be 21 spots left? Because all these little objects interacted with their little sunspot regions, depleting the energy and moving away now and making them all deteriorate. So we've lost 21 sunspots, okay? The area's in the green, that's all good. We still got this cute little dog face over here. But I want to pull this one open really quick because we're still behind on data. Never mind. Yeah, I guess we'll see this same frame for the rest of the year. No need to check there anymore. Checking on this little guy really quick. The face is still there. It's still our little dog getting a scratch. My mom was scratching him just like this today too. It was so funny. And she probably hasn't even seen this image. She reached down with her hand just like that and did the same scratch. Almost subliminally the same thing without even knowing what this picture showed. Pretty crazy stuff. Okay, let's move on back here and take a peek at our, see how fluxed we are here today. Goes X-ray flux, that is. All right, finally some M flare activity. We have an M flare here and just barely crested the line right there a little bit. Not too much, nothing too strong, but it's a reflection of what we saw coming out of the sun. So those UFOs are causing activity that's registering on the goes X-ray flux, isn't it? Sure looks like it at least. So, excuse me. There's your activity for today, and you can see it was pretty exciting, and then just tapered off. It went pretty flat right there. And I would tease you, but I don't even think the data's up there yet because see, there's nothing right there. Even if I refresh, there's still nothing there. So no little tidbit into tomorrow, but everybody's reporting drone activity, huh? Gee, I wonder why there's drone activity going on. And maybe they're not drones, but they keep using that term over and over and over and over again, don't they? Not once have they said, oh, this is possible UFO activity. No, it's just drone, 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 drone. So you'll think it's that. But we got company. Okay, and we've seen this already. So now we can zoom out and get to the rest of this report. You guys are hanging tough. Thank you for being so patient and tolerant with my zooming in and zooming around and all this. Okay, so 3-day geomagnetic forecast, still all clear for the next 3 days, which is good news. Okay, we don't want to see any more geomagnetic storms. Okay, it's already wreaking havoc on the Schumann. Okay, which is wreaking havoc on you. Meanwhile, X flare potential 5%, M flare potential way down to 30. We had this M 2.3. It was a type 2 little radio blackout over here, but nothing too bad. Meanwhile, your aurora's very weak right now. It doesn't look like so much on this, but that's more what they look like, just barely there. So very, very weak right now, which is good. That means we're not taking on a bunch of energy from the sun. Your KP index is basically the reflection of what's going on here the last couple of hours. You can see after yesterday's little, absorption here and absorption there, these two little ones have caused a little bit of chaos down below. Okay, it's not much, but it's causing effects. Now, as you can see, we climb back out of this little low trough and we're hovering right about 2.5. So it's not all that bad. Very light right now. That's good. Meanwhile, our sunspots to watch 3906. It's totally over on the other limb now. 5 is gone. 6 is declining and just about to crest the limb, leaving. The only one really is 3912 that's beta, gamma, and growing. So we'll have to watch this one a little bit. It may be done with after our little event today. So no events being tracked, but we're going to track some lacking of tracking. Please, can we have it zoomed in? One more time. There we go. My poor computers. Slow down, Brian. You're asking too much of me. All right, you can see our CME moving away. All right, nowhere coming near the Earth here. And now some of these little objects, as they're passing by, they're headed in this direction. And when they bounce into this electromagnetic, pretend this black circle is the field of the sun. When they hit that and they glance it, that's when you see the reaction. The spark jumps this way out towards it, but that's as it was passing this way. So sometimes when these objects interact with the sun, they cause a CME that heads across their path, and then we don't get a CME heading our way, but we'll get an unexpected geomagnetic storm because of the radiation that's still still going along with said objects. Okay, depends on how close they get to our magnetic field and the strength of our magnetic field at the time. Okay, we're getting into the stuff here a little bit. So oops, back out of this. Here you can see it's just a coronal hole stream. It's just plasma density. It's not like a big shock wave is going to hit us, but a little increase in density there. But that's about it for that. Excuse me. All right, let's get into this little article really quick here. Solar activity is finally back at moderate levels with the first M flare in over a week. The approaching active region just off the east limb was responsible for this M2.3 flare at 10 o'clock. So maybe increased solar activity is on the horizon. So we'll have to watch this little spot that's coming around already firing off M flares. And that's probably, this region right here. Okay, and even after we saw these little interactions right here, 1, 2, 3, you see that the spire regions at the end is still there. Okay, so we have a bigger object, I think, or something else that's we're still going to entertain from this region. And this is where we're seeing our 2.3. So we did have one event there that we saw on the satellite already, but it appears that we still have stuff coming out of that region. So we're going to probably see another event there. We saw this last night. There's 3905 way over here on the limb. It's already kind of gone. 906 is probably right on the edge there. So not much to look at there. Now, what I want to do here, get rid of these. And get a little spaceweather.com, Dr. Tony Phillips over here, his little article really quick. The sun is being quiet now. The sun has not produced a significant flare in more than a week, except for just our little latest M flare. But quiet conditions are expected to continue today, and there are plenty of sunspots facing Earth, but none of them have unstable magnetic fields inclined to explode. So Jupiter outshines the stars. See that very bright star at midnight? Well, that's right about now, for my time zone at least. It's not a star. It's no star. It's Jupiter. It's outshining everything else in the midnight sky as it makes its annual closest approach to Earth. So look for it between the horns of Taurus. Between the horns of Taurus, huh? Okay, moving on. Now to our main subject matter tonight, our Schumann resonance. Okay. Hopefully the Russians are still doing our instrument here. Okay, let me get a little bit this out of the way, and voila. Okay, I can't really zoom in too tight on it, I can't zoom in on the site. But as you can see, it has been a very bumpy ride today. This has been quite a long duration grinding event. Okay, you're dealing with a lot of different frequencies, very intense. They're low frequencies. Okay, they're not really high pitched ones. You can't hear them. But from 0 to say, well, we're saying about 16 right here, all very intense. Okay, white denotes the intensity. So we've had pressure down below build up, and our core is grinding inside the inner core or the shell. I like to use the term shell because when you take the core out of the middle of it, the outer core has a hollow spot in the middle where the core would be. So it's just a shell, really, if you subtract the core from it. When the core is in there and spinning, that produces the magnetic field. You get metal rotating inside of magma or really hot metal like that. It generates a magnetic field. The spinning of the core inside the shell is what propagates outward and then produces our magnetic field, which, much like a high voltage wire, hums at a certain frequency, which our magnetic field hums at 7.83 hertz, which is the Schumann. Okay. Now, when you have grinding down below, it causes all this lower um, lower frequency vibrations down there. Okay, this emanates outward through the magma to the crust, and then outward from the crust it goes out into space, but then it hits the ionosphere, our magnetic field, and bounces back down. This instrument records echoes bouncing down from the magnetic field and the Schumann. So these are echoes from down below bouncing off the ionosphere. Okay. This is what's causing your booms and your trumpet blasts and all the skyquakes. All right. When you hear that metal on metal grinding and that hollow sound, well, you're hearing the shell resonate and shake and vibrate like it's almost like a these little wooden bird whistles that we used to have when we were kids. It's a little red cylinder with a metal plunger that you push in and twist. Well, the harder you push in and twist, the higher pitches you get, right? Well, that twisting of the metal inside the wood creates little tiny vibrations. That's what's going on here. That's the core and the shell, and that's the wood that's vibrating. It's the outer part, the shell, that's vibrating and has that hollow sound to it because it sounds almost like a hollow instrument, something that has, a cavity in it or something, right? This is what's causing your sounds from the sky, your skyquakes. It's your core and the shell grinding together down below. This is an indication of pressure. Now, this is also interrupting the 7.83. All right, here's your 7.83 running across here. What we like to see is nice straight green, solid continuity. But we had grinding, normalness, a little bit, back to weak, really quick right there, and then back to grinding again, and high intense, 7.83. So that makes it can make, well, it does all sorts of different things to different people too. This kind of stuff for me is painful. Okay, it can make you have energy and be excited and stuff, but it can be very painful for people who have arthritis or even heart conditions. Okay, because this is electromagnetic. All right, so there's your Schumann report for right now, and you can see that we had some serious grinding going on for a long time with little pulses, little breaks, and then right back to grinding. Little pulse, little break, right back to grinding. A little break, right back to grinding. It's this constant roller coaster of up and down, up and down, up and down. And this is going on in the background without you, well, knowing it, all right? It's invisible or whatever. But it causes people to be irritable, act out of character, and you as well. So this is going on in the background, and this is why we have to do our spiritual work and stuff too, because this can cause irritation, irritability, and you don't want to ruin somebody else's day, right? So, excuse me there. Now, that's quite a bit of pressure that's going on down below. It's been relieved several times, but continues to grind, even though we get relief right here, right back to grinding. A little bit of relief, just our latest things, right back to grinding again. So we're currently going through this all for the last quite a long time. Well, a little over 24 hours now. So this has been a long duration one. It's kind of like a marathon thing where you think it's over and then it happens again. You think it's over and it happens again. And it's just like it can be very testing and very demanding. The more you work on your salvage work, the easier this ride becomes. Okay? Before you were doing your salvage work, this would have wreaked havoc throughout your day. Most of you are still here and you survived the day. Okay? You're handling this stuff pretty well. It's painful, but you know what? That builds character. Now, let's get on to the null school here. Overcoming that throughout your day is just you're going from glory to glory, okay? And you're glorying in your tribulation. Here, that was a little indication of your tribulation today. Kind of, huh? Just really quick before we go up in latitude, there's your tropical convergence zone still hanging out just in between the 15 and the equator. Let's come up here just a little bit, a little higher. You can see our storm levels. We're looking for vortex and rotation. We have our big thermal heat patch out here that's kind of stalling storms, causing them to just develop and then move up over and then down into the country. So meanwhile, we got more storms brewing out here, probably our thermal pockets generating more. Ooh, there's a big old vortex in the southern hemisphere there. This is one right here. So this thing just buzzsawed the sideswiped Great Britain and Ireland right there. It's moving on up. Look at this. You got more rotation going on out here and up here by this bay, the Hudson Bay up there, just south of the Hudson Bay. Sorry. All right, so I just wanted to take a peek through those really quick. Let's do our sandstorm, shall we? All right, take the winds off really quick. Getting weaker and weaker as we go, but still this ongoing sandstorm. The most intense part is like right along the shoreline, so that's weird. It's coming from land into the ocean, and the most intense part is right at the beach where it's coming off the land and transitioning to the water there. Is that a heart right there? A big old heart right there. All right. Anyways, you could see when it was blowing up here, that is, pulled back and is more southerly now. Meanwhile, over in the Middle East, it had a little break. It's still some there, but it's not as intense. All right, and you can still see somebody lurking in the background there. Okay, it flares up from time to time, but there's your sandstorm. Oh, really quick. Australia having its own independent sandstorm as well. Okay, now let's move on over here to our SO2. This is sulfur dioxide, not carbon dioxide. This is basically vaporized magma. It comes up through the small little pores and cracks and perforations, and there's Harvey lurking right there. All right, thanks for being here, Harley. Coming up through the pores, perforations of the crust. It's kind of happy medium. So there we go. One side bleeding out. You can see how porous the crust is. It just has all this little spongified effect where any kind of pressure just oozes this SO2 out on this whole side here. Meanwhile, on the left, on the west coast there, it's all more mountainous, granite, thick rocks. So any kind of perforation in the crust is more of a volcanic site. There is your country divided. We're trying to unite, though. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right. Just going to pop any fires in here because I know we've had an uptick in pressure, and yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Okay, here we go with a couple of fires up here. This appears to be more like out by Wyoming, Idaho area right there. So these two yellow ones right there in our SO2 plume. There's another couple right here that are sparked up because of these SO2 plumes. This gas comes out of the ground so hot that it can cause spontaneous combustion of any kind of vegetation in the surrounding area. It'll dry it out and then spark it on fire. These little red dots I'm not too worried about, but look at this. We're starting to see fires on the coast right here. I'm mainly looking at these yellow ones. Look at this. We're starting to see activity over here in Utah. Well, this is Utah. More down by New Mexico. Yeah. Interesting. Because it was up in Canada and it had come down to the lower 48. We were seeing a lot of activity in this region and then a lack of activity lately. Well, now with this new latest round of pressure that we've seen on the Schumann resonance, we got more gas. All these sites are sparking up and getting really dark in this area. And now we've got two fires here, one there, and what appears to be some on the coast right there. Even some in the east over here, or right over there. Okay, so backing out, we're going to take off the fires now. Coming on down through Mexico, you can see their perforations in their crust, their volcanoes and stuff. We got Cuba bleeding out, Jamaica bleeding out, all this right down this whole chain right here, all these little volcanic sites right here, all spewing SO2. Okay, also these volcanic islands all have a little SO2 plume. This is basically vaporized magma. Magma wants to come squirting out through these spots, but they're plugged up. And they're plugged up so tight that only the little tiniest pathways where gas can make it through is the smallest pathway. So it's too tight and too dense for magma to make it through, but not so dense for the gas to escape. Okay, so the pressure is pushing out vaporized magma, basically sulfur dioxide, and you see these intense plumes growing up. This is a new intense spot right there. Look at that. So a new spot of intensity. Here's your fulcrum point that we check every night, and you see that the other one on the other end's kind of decent, one in the middle decent. The fourth one's kind of barely there, and our fifth one's stronger than the fourth. So a little uptick in pressure, but you can see that it's been kind of our new spot right here. And it's bigger than the one at the fulcrum point. So we got a new pathway of least resistance right here. Bigger opening or whatever, allowing more SO2 to escape from that area. Let's see how long this dark plume lasts for. Meanwhile, coming down through the coastline, you see all this very intense SO2 coming out of this way. This time winds are blowing it across the country instead of out into the Pacific. Okay. Stop in at Hawaii. Oahu's getting darker right now. This has been the main SO2 emission site is on Oahu. Meanwhile, we see volcano activity on Hawaii. So it's better to see SO2 emissions in Oahu where there's populations and have a active volcano. Active volcano can be over here. That's good. But very intense emissions coming out of out of Oahu right now. Okay, so you people there, stay on alert. Okay, there's all these islands are volcanic. They have a volcanic vent that made them in the first place. That's uptick in pressure can cause earthquake activity and SO2 and possible volcanic eruption. Okay, not saying it's going to happen, but just be on alert. All right, so 8 hours back for their time zone. And we drop on in here. You can see China's SO2s are very strong here. They have, again, very porous, very spongy type crust here. And with all this SO2 emissions opening up little pathways, and then we see typhoons moving into this region, flooding the area. Water goes down those tiny little pathways and erodes away here or there, little corners, little nooks, little crannies, opening up bigger and bigger. The more water goes in and gas comes out, water goes in, gas comes out. It keeps eroding away those channels. And you can see every time we get a good uptick in pressure, China turns purple. It looks like a big old bruise on the face of the planet. And India following suit. Okay, Middle East following suit here too. Look how it's all darkened up in this region now. Now we were talking about the sand plumes that are coming up through here, and I showed you some of that on the intro. Let me get that intro pulled back up just really quick. My bad, I clicked out of it. It was what were the signs? This one. Okay, this blast at the end right here. Note Indonesia. So in Indonesia, they're having, this is pressure coming up through a perforation in the crust. This is probably hot mud, gases, SO2. This is a new perforation in the crust that relieved pressure right there. So when you see the Schumann spikes drop for a second and then spike again, well, one of these things probably popped open, relieved pressure for a second, and then stopped going, and then pressure built up again. some of these little things seal up after, popping open, and then you have a new site. But this is sand and mud and hot mud popping up from the ground, okay? And now we're seeing that stuff here in the Middle East, in this region, and some of these mud volcanoes have methane gas in them, and they're on fire. Okay, so a lot of these sites are SO2, which isn't flammable, but some of these have methane coming out of them, which is flammable. And we're seeing open pits of fire fall, a sinkhole falls open in the sand and then fire comes out of it. All right. So they're having that issue in here as well. And I think it was on this World of Science channel. I have to go research a little further. It was one of their videos that has the flames popping out of the desert. So you should come over here to World of Science, subscribe, hook them up so they can keep producing evidence from around the world that is backing this stuff up. Okay, so we have references. There we go. Whew. All right, so there's your activity. I want to come down here and check out Java really quick. Thank you for putting up with me sometimes. I just rattle on. Okay, there's Java. It should be a little bit darker. You can see wind is taking some of this out across the straits right through here. So if you took all this coloration and shoved it back on there, it would be a little bit darker. So we are seeing a little uptick in pressure in this region, stronger SO2 emissions. Okay, here's Australia. They're getting their scattered little sites popping up all over the place here and there, except for right in the outback right there. But then what I want to do is come over to this little island right here. Here's Fiji in our deep quake region, and then our plate boundary system starts right here and goes right up through this volcanic chain. All right, there's this little pencil island right here, boat-shaped, pencil-shaped island right here with two strong emission sites. They act like, like a slow leak in a bicycle tube, okay? So where Fiji is and the pressure's coming in would be where the valve stem is, right here, and pretend you're pumping air in, and there's a slow leak right next to it. Well, that's going to, diffuse a lot of that pressure that's coming in. It's leaking out right there, and it keeps earthquakes and magnitudes and activity down in this region as well. We have volcano activity on these islands as well. So, what else? Oh yeah, Taiwan. So Taiwan being another fulcrum point on the plate boundary system, we have SO2 emissions coming out of this island now because there's been a reduction in quake activity here, which kind of locked up or whatever. Now it bleeds SO2 instead. So pressure underneath isn't being released enough by earthquakes, and now we're seeing SO2 emissions. And it's got a decent little plume coming out of the one side here, okay? So it's working its magic there. Meanwhile, we got Japan, which is a volcanic island bar type chain, okay, and you got its SO2 emissions out of its volcanoes. Here's the Kamchatka Peninsula with the one volcano still going off. Look, plume here, plume there, plume here, right there. So we got volcanoes going off on the peninsula, and then just above it all, this bleeding out SO2 strong emission sites right there. That's a big bruise right there. And the more they keep it up, the darker that bruise is going to get. And you better come to life here pretty soon. All right, moving on. What do you want? Oh, you want this one really? Okay, so we just did SO2. This is SO4, okay? It's sulfur with 4 oxygen atoms per molecule, okay? So instead of SO2, it's SO4. Now, the thing about this, you see its concentrations and it's all over the place. Here, let me scroll back a little bit and kind of let you see around the world. Sorry, my camera doesn't like this color very much, but all right, it's not necessarily emission sites where it comes from. It's man-made and nature-made. It's the fact that this gas, SO4, it's a particulate, so water adheres or clings to a particulate, right? Like an ash or a carbon, any kind of small little piece of matter floating around in the air, water molecules will adhere to it. Well, this particulate, instead of adhering to it, it actually water bonds with it and creates a new chemical. And when H2O bonds with SO4, you get a new chemical compound called H2SO4, which is better known as sulfuric acid. And what you are seeing is all kinds of sulfuric acid potential in your sky. All right. It's basically all acid rain. It gets caught up in storms. All right. You see these storm fronts right here, right? You see how it gets caught up in a storm? What is a storm made of? Clouds, right? Clouds are made of water. So all this SO4 is fusing with the water in the clouds, creating acid rain clouds, acid rain storms. All over the world. Okay. All right, enough of that. Let's get on over to our ocean. Sea surface temperature anomalies. Not now, but yesterday's, because this map takes a day to put together. All right, let's come on over here. You can see it's very patchy. It's starting to diffuse out. It's not this one big old glowing ball. It's starting to spread out and get diffused and stuff. That's good because it kind of spreads out the heat and diffuses it more so it's not so intense. Okay, meanwhile, you see our triangle structure over here is dissipated. There's not much yellow or anything going on in that region. We'll stop in our Wanda Fuca here. Now check this out. This is right where our Wanda Fuca comes out of this point, comes up, zigzags up. Let me pull this down. All right. Comes out, zigzags up through there. We see little patches of heat still in the region. That means there's still some pressure in there, but we have seen a lot more cold water inundation because of earthquake activity through the region. It relieves pressure, then all of a sudden cold water can, inundate and hold its turf for a little while. Now, you see this new little spot right here. That wasn't there yesterday. So we have a new little opening out here that is relieving pressure, but it's also creating a heat plume. So there's action reaction. There's positives and negatives to all this stuff too. So just because you see a new opening doesn't mean you're going to have an earthquake. It means that there's a new path of least resistance opened up, and a lot of pressure in the surrounding region is going to transfer to this new opening, right? So, new little opening popped open right there. You can see it. All right. Meanwhile, going on here on the coast here, all of a sudden from this point or the Wanda Fuca southward, we're getting some heat going on here. We're having a new opening right here and a hot water plume right off the bay right there. Okay, and this will probably relieve pressure along the San Andreas. Even though you see this heat plume and opening in the ocean out there with, hot water, lava, whatever's coming out of it, okay, it's relieving pressure in that region as well, okay? Same with this here. We got another little heat signature growing down in this area now. So this stuff is changing up each day. And you can see this latest round of pressure when it came in over the Schumann. Oh, I don't have the Schumann pulled up again. Gives little flare-ups. We're starting to see little flare-ups, little spots opening up, new little spots. Meanwhile, here's your Gulf of Mexico. Very hot water in that region. All along the Gulf Stream here, really hot, going way up into there, North Atlantic. Look at the south of Greenland and this going over to Iceland as well. Iceland surrounded by hot water or warmer water on the south and colder water on this side. Why is there such a big difference in temperature right in that little zone right there? Well, because we're seeing emissions on the ocean floor. And then look at this, way up here top of the world. I mean, That's probably like the close to the North Pole right there, because the pole travels, right? So look at that. There's a new site opened up there. Look at all this heat right here along the coast. All right. Then we go down the side of Africa. You see these ones. This little side right here still looks like half a lion face. The eye, here's the nose and the mouth and the mane. And he's hiding behind a tree or whatever, hiding behind Africa with one eye peeking out. All right. All these openings on the bottom here. Lots of hot water. All right. Now let's zoom in here to our another relief valve here at Java. We were seeing yellow on the coastline here the other day, and now that has receded. Okay, there's no more yellow in that area. So we've seen a little pressure release in this area, and now not so much bleeding out through the plate boundary. Might be going on down here. Enough of this. Put on the wind. Bingo. Okay, over these heat plumes gathers hot air. Over the colder areas is cooler air. Hot air rises, cold air rushes in to replace it. When hot air rises, it gets cooler up higher and descends down to the cool air. So you get these vortex rotations when you got hot and cold next to each other. And we're seeing matchups with our hot and cold plumes causing rotation in our vortexes. And this is the level that our storm's right at, okay? This is where we're seeing all our weathers along these lines instead of on our jet stream. Now, something I was going to point out here. Note how it's steering everything up and over and then bringing cold air down in through the plains. And we also have this little mixture, warm, moist air circulating from the Gulf coming up into this colder air. Last night we saw the convergence zone like right here. Now it's more down over here. Now this was yesterday. This map's a week behind, or a day behind. Sorry, but what I want you to take notation of is the rotation and direction of air, hot, moist, warm air coming up, colliding with cool air. That's what causes severe weather. Okay. Let's come on over, see your conveyor belt structures over the Atlantic. Okay. Here's this one up here by Iceland, hot and cold next to each other. Look at that one just go to town, huh? And you got hot and cold right here. Cold air rushing in, hot air rising right here. Boom. Let's go a little bit down under now. Now you can see how these heat plumes and the cold areas match up with the air rotation components. Okay. There we go. Look at this down here. Look at this one. That's a good example. Alrighty, so let's move on. We did the Pacific. Oh wait, let's look at the Pacific real quick. Alright, that's decent. Nothing too much going on right there except for that guy. Alright, we will take the winds off and leave that sitting there for our earthquake report here in a minute. Bingo. What's his name? What is going on in this chat room? Okay, there are people still alive in there. And let's do some quaking, shall we? Now, every time we get a round of pressure that comes up from down below, we get our earthquakes uptick in magnitude and a uptick in like fulcrum points, boundary point quakes. We see deep activity. Okay, so coming into our deep region right here at Fiji. Alrighty, let's dive on in. Grab your snorkel and let's go snorkeling at Fiji. It's beautiful. Mid-range 4 down at 608 and a mid-range 4 down at 607. Two 4.4s right close to each other, basic same depth, as an indication of pressure coming up. A little double shot, boom, boom, two mid-range 4s would usually put 5 energy at the surface, but we haven't seen any kind of 5 magnitude in this region in a long, long time because we have this little island right here that's the slow leak. It's bleeding the pressure. So when pressure comes up to the surface right here, it exits right here instead of snapping off a quake. Also, we have all kinds of volcanoes through this volcanic chain right here that relieve pressure as it comes up from down below. So we don't see much quake activity through this plate boundary system in a while. And occasionally we do, but not very big and not very much lately because of all our volcanoes. Meanwhile, we get to that end of that, we finally see our 4.4, same magnitude, just down a little deeper. This is definitely volcanic island right here. So underneath it is earthquake at a volcanic feature, is an indication of pressure down below coming to the surface. 4.4 again with the same magnitude down at 160 here. 4.5 basically the same magnitude again, 160 again. Coming up here, 4.2 down at 114. Okay, Taiwan, this area, our fulcrum point. This used to rattle off quakes every once in a while and keep pressures and magnitudes down in this region. Well, now we have SO2 emissions and we have heat plumes all around this area, and it's causing an earthquake here of 5 at the surface. So pressure from down below in this region is finally venting here at the surface. It's not so much right here at the fulcrum point, but it's darn close enough, and I will take whatever we can get, especially this magnitude. We don't want to see anything too much higher than a 5 because that does damage to infrastructure and, well, hurts, kills people. So I would like to see the, fair amount of pressure come out. Not the most, but, a fair amount come out without doing damage. So it's a happy medium. And mid-range 4 and 5 is perfect. So here we are, right at Japan, right by Tokyo here, 4.8 down at 73. It's a little deeper. That's an indication of something going on down underneath this volcanic structure right there. Okay, Kamchatka, we see all the volcanoes in this whole area, with SO2 emissions, volcanoes, and now it's so much pressure in the area trying to come up. We've seen an uptick in pressure. So now we're seeing quake activity in this region, mid-range 4, and it's not at the surface. This is down at 338. It's not super deep, but it is a deeper structure or deeper strata quake in this region. It's not on a plate boundary, okay? And this would almost be your diverse quake if it weren't for all these volcanoes and stuff nearby. So can't count it. It's darn close to one, but this one, that's more of a diverse quake. 4.2, it's down at 447 as well. You see this deeper little pit area right here, a little darker in color, this triangle structure. Well, down underneath it, you see that this is shallower water. This is like a big shelf out there, and there's this deep little pocket right as the little slide starts to go down into the deepness right here. If you went down through the page, if I push this rod through this page, you can touch it down in there. So we do see earthquake activity along this little structure right here. So it's not your diverse quake, even though it doesn't have much of a signature for quake activity, but we do see them in there. And they're usually at that level too, at that depth. They're not super deep, but they're at mid-range in that area. Well, looky here. Very deep quake, very deep crack in the Earth's surface right there. All kinds of fault work going through this mountain valley right here. Cracks coming down, causing this lake. This is another deep scar in the surface of the Earth right there. Right at the fulcrum point of this lake. 4.3 at the surface. Scrubbing energy at the surface there. If you took all the water out of this and it was like a big scar, big open scar, that would be a fulcrum point of a big big fault that's just filled in with water. Kind of like that one is. We pull back. You see the structure, the topology, how this crack work runs. That's just a big, deeper gouge, and it filled in with water. Pop up at some mountains and then down into another gouge there. So that's a little fulcrum point on a on a scar, on a big giant open wound on the planet, really. Okay, now let's come to your fulcrum point here by India. 5.2. That's an uptick in magnitude for this fulcrum point region. We have a current quake right here, 4.6 on the Owen fracture zone at the surface, scrubbing energy in this area right now. So we have pressure in this region making it to the surface at this moment. Now let's get into what happened over here. Come on up. 5.6 here in Iran. That's at the surface. 5.0 at the surface. Well, 10 kilometers is, I consider, a surface quake. 4.9, which is a 5 at the surface. So we've had 3 5 magnitudes right in this region. Okay, that's your uptick in magnitude, uptick in quakes showing up because of pressure down below coming up. Here we go, 4.6 here in Turkey. Okay, this is offshore. You see the little shore bank down into this little bowl. It's down in the bottom, even deeper than this ocean floor bowl. Down in there is a 4.6. Something going on here. Pressure coming up to the bottom side of this little deep pit structure. Trying to push on it. Push its way up to the surface. So, interesting activity here. Let's just see what's at that site. Because one time we zoomed in on an earthquake here, and at the site was a surprise. Oh, guess that's all we're going to get. You can see these tight little river valleys, these little... There's a good fault structure right there, so... And faults don't necessarily have to go all the way down through the crust and touch the magma. There are cracks, there are weak spots. Even river valleys carve out weak spots that cause earthquake activity because it's basically a fault filled in with water. So that's interesting what's going on there. We'll have to watch that region. It is definitely a new pathway of least resistance, isn't it? So when a round of pressure comes up, like say right now, we'll have to watch that region. Okay, different little quake activity tonight. Out here, all this activity, uptick in magnitude at a fulcrum point, way up here to like a fulcrum point of a lake. Okay, come on over here. Let's do the rest of this, and then we'll hop into the USA last. Fulcrum point over here, 4.3 at 144, 4.2 at 31, 4.9 at 92 down there, 4.2 there, a lot of 4.2s, mid-range 4s. Okay, now, baby, let's do it. Let's go, America. All right. All the activity in this region, no fulcrum point quake. But as we come down through this volcanic island chain, you see we have a 4.4. Again, with the 4.4s, 4.2 magnitude, spreading all over the place. Okay, we haven't seen activity in this region for a while. Down at 25, it's not at the surface. This is a volcanic island structure right here. It's on the flank of a volcano. So, indication of pressure down below, down at 25. Making its way to the surface. Little microquake there, nothing too bad. 3.9, really. So right along the shelf of this plateau, 3.9, scrubbing energy at the surface. Another one here, 2.4. That's a little deeper. Okay, let's take this one. Inside fulcrum, 2.3 magnitude. Not too bad. Then we come on down to our Juan de Fuca. Now, we've been seeing pressure in the region reduce lately. Let me get this coloration wavy line thing just right. So we don't have to. All right. Now, okay, this little tip right here is this little tip right there comes out your Juan de Fuca. Here are your two quakes today, right close to the plate boundary. 4.2 at the surface there, beautiful, and a 4.4. Again with the 4.2 and the 4.4, here's one of each. Right here on the plate boundary, scrubbing energy at the surface. We got fulcrum point quakes, 2.5 and 1.9 scrubbing energy right there at the fulcrum. So these four little quakes right there have relieved some energy in that region because yesterday, you look right here where it comes off. This is all cold water north of it, but look at what's just south of it. All this heat and pressure in right south of the plate boundary. Here's the plate boundary, and that's the weak spot. All this pressure, all this heat is right under this, right here. So the path of least resistance would be, well, right there, your plate boundary. So now that we have a new heat plume growing right south of the Juan de Fuca, we're still seeing stuff right on the southern line of the plate boundary right there. Relieving pressure and good magnitudes too. All right, nothing too big, nothing too devastating. We get inward push from the plate boundary. It pushes inland. See this corner? Energy wants to keep going in a straight line. It doesn't like to turn direction, so it drives inland. You keep driving that straight line, it'd be right into there. So 3.3 here at Maxwell. And we get into our geysers area, bunch of smaller quakes, but a lot of them that relieves pressure. It's like another big slow leak. That's like a big leak in the tube. It reduces pressure as it comes through the Bay Area, keeping magnitudes down to 1.4 instead of a 4.4. A little bit going up here. What's that? 2.8 Bootjack, California. All right. I know some of these are just small ones. They're not significant, kind of boring, but I got to check some anyways. All right, your man-made perforations in the crust causing 1.6 microquaking. Good. Little microquaking in that region as well. Relieving energy in that, relieving pressure in that region. Up in Oklahoma. Nothing on your Craton or on the New Madrid today. Okay, quick magnitude check here. Basic 3, small uptick, usually 3.2, and we're seeing 3.9, so little indication of uptick in pressure. All right, we're done with that. Let's move on to our volcano page now. $37. Whoa. Let's get all that in the frame. Shall we? 37 erupting, 33 in warning when these are active, and I don't even include the 27 at unrest. So 70 volcanoes that are either active or currently erupting. Now, 7 years ago when all this stuff started happening to me, if I'd have told you back then that 7 years later you would be having 70 volcanoes, you would have said, Brian, you're crazy. We only have one volcano, and we've only had one for 100 years, right? Or for a long time. So the idea of having 70 would be crazy. Well, here we are 7 years later, and I am still crazy about you. Canleon, 9,000. Ibu, IBU, at 7,000 feet as well. Luatobi, 9,000. Ducono, 16. Popocatépetl, frequent emissions, 15 out of Fuego, 15 out of Reventador. Just in the last few minutes, because here's today, which is now yesterday, because, well, time flies at this channel. Now, diving on into the map of insanity, note your active and currently erupting volcanoes through this elbow region of the plate boundary. So this is relieving pressure that comes up through that region, keeping earthquakes down and magnitudes down in that part of the plate boundary. And we saw that. Okay. Meanwhile, all the red are currently erupting. Yes, Stromboli and Etna currently erupting. So is Stravinsky, Home Reef. This up in the Kamchatka is just funny. It's just crazy. Shivaluz, Kluchevskoy, Bizamani, Karaminsky, Adelaide, and Ebico, all of them are currently erupting. That's a lot of erupting volcanoes all right next to each other. And a lot of pressure being relieved in that region too. Okay. Now let's move on. Volcano, fissure, cracks opening up in the ground, leaking lava, ash plumes going way up into the sky, depositing all kinds of particulates into your air, increasing water volume content because we got hot water plumes that evaporate more water into water vapor, which puts more water in the air. Add more water, add more particulates, you're getting heavier downpours, bigger rain emissions out of each storm. The air has the capacity to hold a lot more water. It's like instead of a kitchen sponge, now you have a giant washing the car sponge. It holds a lot more water now. Manam, 7,000. Ibu, 7,000. Luatobi, 8,000. Not a bunch of big blasts going on. 8,000. Here's Semeru pushing 15. That's its maximum. So Semeru's doing its job. Ducono right next door. Oh, excuse me. It's 16,000. Spur in the Cook Inlet is at unrest. Expectant patterns of unrest. Popocatépetl, 21,000. Santo Guido, 14,000. Fuego, 15. Nevada del Ruiz. Sangay at 20. Look at this. Reventador, 14.5. All right, every one of those blasts is putting more and more ash every day. Each blast puts more and more ash in the air. You're seeing rainbows around the moon, around the sun, because there's so much ash particulates in the air now. You'll see shadows being cast from contrails will cast a shadow in the air because there's so many particulates now. Those shadows you see coming off of the contrails, those black streaks that lead in front of the plane, those are shadows being cast on the particulates in the air. So here we go with all these are currently erupting. Just because they didn't make on the list and have a big blast height, but there's Bizamani, all of these, and don't get too desensitized by these lists. These are very disturbing lists. Okay, I don't like to show this list too much because if you knew what you were looking at, reason for concern. Okay, but your mainstream media is not going to cover this because it would probably cause some concern. If everybody knew that this was going on. Okay, 70 currently or active volcanoes. Currently erupting. Eruption warning. Activity. Currently active. Okay, it's not a joke. How many people do you know? You could go up to somebody on the street. Did you know there's 70 volcanoes going off? They could laugh, right? Well, no. But don't get desensitized to it. This is like a warning. There should be a big siren rotating at the top of this page, like a red flashing siren rotating it from an old police car. Warning, warning. Before you look at this list, you better have a firm foundation. Because what you're looking at is just chaos. And then that's on land. Okay, that's above the surface of the water. The crust of the land is still under the water, under the ocean floor is still the surface of the planet. It's just covered with water. So here's your volcanic activity that's on the surface of the planet, just covered with water. Okay, very, very concerning. And then it keeps adding more SO2, keeps adding more SO4 to the equation, more particulates. So we're just going to keep seeing more and more acid rain, more and more stronger storms. It's just going to runaway train effect till man's iniquity is finally, he's going to see more of this stuff. Okay, now, one last thing. Don't get too worked up. We're going to be okay. Let's just get the tidbits. Hand out some tidbits. Everybody want a tidbit? Well, let's have a model first. Okay, so added ash, added moisture, higher volumes of precipitation. Precipitation in the form of snow as well as precipitation too. So you're going to see heavier snowfall amounts as well, which will cause roof collapse, which will cause uh, well, you snowbound. You could be frozen, breaking pipes, knocking trees down, power lines, icing events. It's gonna be a rough winter, you guys. Here is your current condition with this huge, massive low, cold air. You see all the tight millibars. That's all wind. This is one big rotating cold storm right there. So everybody on the East Coast, buckle down and warm up. Okay, there's current conditions. Also, you see that warm, moist air is colliding with cold air at the nighttime hours and causing a little strip of severe weather at nighttime because warm air at night now becomes dangerous. There's the morning hours. Cold air in the morning hours with warm air is dangerous. Then, as the sun comes up, noontime, that activity halters. There's still a patch of moisture there, but you see this whole cold air has sucked up a bunch of moist air with it. This warm moist air, and you're getting a little severe strip out there, but that's way out in the ocean. You see the big comma shape that this thing's taking. It's really getting wrapped up, taken, or getting organized, and its tail is reaching all the way back. Just because there's a little break there, there's still some connection there. That's convection of the 5th, nighttime the 5th, morning of the 6th, noon, convection. Now up here in the Pacific Northwest. So what I'm going to do here, since most of that is kind of done, I'm going to pop out to Pacific Northwest here. Okay, now. Oh, come on, Turkey. I want a little further north than that. There we go. There we go. So let's take a peek at this. It's coming for the Pacific Northwest here. The rest of the country looks pretty good for the next 3 days period, which is anything after that's unpredictable. So let's just go through this. This is current conditions. No, this is convection the 5th as some kind of moisture starts to approach the British Columbia up there. Nighttime the 5th, morning of the 6th, severe weather, thunder, snow. That's going to be a dangerous event right there along the coastline. That's way north up here. So not many people in that. Well, that might be hitting the southern tip of Alaska there. So severe weather there at the noontime the 6th. Then it kind of shunts south by convection. There's the nighttime of the 6th. And then hits the morning area, or hits the Seattle area in the morning of the 7th. So that is the nighttime of the 7th. Let me get back on track here. So after this severe weather kind of pushes through the Seattle area, gets into, this region right around Marf there. That's the noontime the 7th. There's the convection the 7th or afternoon, nighttime the 7th, morning of the 8th, noon, convection, nighttime, morning of the 9th, noon, convection, nighttime. And then another round right around the 11th here, which is a little further out there in the future. Okay, so let me just back out of that little, get back to the main USA thing here. We're almost done, you guys. Breathe. There it is. So we left off here. So there's your storm moving through the Pacific, and then you know what? Did we just get a new batch of data? Okay, I guess not. So let me do this again. Current conditions. There's your noon of the 5th. Convection, nighttime, morning of the 6th, noon, convection, nighttime 7, noon, convection, nighttime 8. This rotating moist air coming up, noon, convection, nighttime of the 8th, morning of the 9th. It's hooking up with this low, watch out. Noon, convection, nighttime the 9th, morning of the 10th, noon, convection, nighttime. Morning of the 11th, you see this rotating cold air pulling moist up. This is going to be a pattern that we might get stuck in for a little bit here. There's the noon time of the 11th, convection, nighttime, morning of the 12th, noon, convection, nighttime, morning of the 13th. Okay, so that just skirted the coastline there. This is way out in the distance, way out in the future, but you see how this curling low drives way down here and starts ripping moisture right up into cold air here. See how it dives way low here and then starts to make its little move. Hopefully it doesn't do anything stronger than that. And then you see how these things can drive warm, moist air up into this colder air and cause icing events like this. This is way out in the distance. This might not happen, but this is a good example of warm, moist air creeping way far north and causing icing events. And now that clings to the power lines of trees, brings down branches, brings down all kinds of power lines, knocking power out. So events like that are coming up here in the future. And then events like this too, severe weather hitting the coast like that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so that's way out in the future. Enough is enough of that. So we made it through all of the geophysics and astrophysics, and everybody's like, "Ooh, metaphysics." Well, it's more about spirituality and how you work, the physics of the human psyche and the mind. All right, so what we're going to do tonight is a little history. Take a little moment. I got some stuff to read to you, but we got a few new members, and we got to do a little background work every once in a while for newbies. So we're going to do a quick little history of 7 years ago, how all this started. Okay, hopefully you guys, most of you have seen this stuff, the dot to dot work before. And if you have and you still haven't gotten it, well, hang around. We're going to connect some dots. Okay, wake up call. This was one of my first videos right here, okay? Back at this time, I was doing stupid little lizard videos. You know, I'd capture, some cool little lizards in my yard, and I'd take some video, or I'd go to a car show, and I'd see some cool cars, and I'd just post a couple, just simple little videos on my channel. I didn't even know what I was doing back then. On this is just prior to the day. This is the stereo ahead, okay? But on September 10th of 2017, this is the first day all my life turned upside down, inside out, backward, forward, if anything, inside out. Oof. I don't even know how to explain that. I guess I got to wear my heart on my sleeve type inside out thing. Okay, so here we go. Note the date down here, September 10th of 2017. This is 13 days before Revelation 12 star alignment. Note that, okay? So we're going to just play this little video here really quick. Hopefully I'm not going to blow your eardrums out. Oh, wait, I need it. Here's our object right here. Looks like Nibiru. It's got a wing coming off on this side and a wing coming off on that side. And that's not all, because behind that is this big object right here. This is what's causing our flares. Here's a conduit of plasma that is sucking off of our sun, going into this planet. Here's a damage ring or an impact zone on this planet right here. You can see Nibiru's coming out in front of it here. This backwards. You can see it goes backwards. There's the second flare. Back behind the sun, comes back out. There's the first flare. So the mass of that object is sucking material off of our sun, causing these solar flares. Boom, right there. Comes back behind the sun. Comes back out. Second flare. And third flare. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see this red little stellar core, Nibiru, the fabled winged planet, whatever you want to call it. It has many names, all right? And then this much bigger object back here, all right? That's way bigger than the sun. The sun is the size of the white circle, not the black circle. This image sat on my computer. I came home and I saw this image sitting on my computer. Actually, it was just the one with Nibiru, this right here. Where'd it go? Come here, where'd that first image go? Boom. Wait, where we go? Here's our object right here. Looks like Nibiru. It's got a wing coming off on this side. Oh yeah, there we go. That was it right there. Behind that is this, because behind that. Okay, whoops, come here. I want this frame right there. This is a frame that was sitting on my computer when I came home. All right. And I looked at this and I'm like, hey, there's been a bunch of X flares. There was the X10 that was before it, and then an X8. So there were two big X flares at the beginning of grand solar minimum. Now there was all this type of grand solar minimum. The sun's going to be going dormant, going quiet for 11 years, right? Then it spits out three of the biggest X flares we've seen. I'm like, well, that's not normal. Well, this was the third in the series of X flares, and this one was smaller, and I poo-pooed it. But this image was sitting on my computer, and I thought, why is this sitting there? I didn't turn my computer on. So I looked into it. I found out how to access this instrument. I went back into the archives, and I found this time frame of this image, and I got it. It's hard to find anymore. And in this is your black stellar core right here with plasma wings coming off, ripping back this way. There's another one curling back this way over here. You can't really see it. It's kind of, there we go. If we darken it a little bit, now you see. All right. Now, what's important about this is I didn't know what I was looking at. I just looking at the white plasma, right? I'm not looking for a black circle until I heard this voice say, there's something wrong with that image, Brian. And I don't refer to myself in the third person. When I'm thinking inside my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to take a bite of a cheeseburger. I'm going to dip my frying ranch and I'm going to take a sip of this drink. But I never refer to myself in the third person. This voice in my head said, there's something wrong with that image, Brian. And I looked at it and I'm like, what is wrong with this image? And I looked and looked and looked. It took a long time. But then I seen it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Nibiru right here. Everybody's taking these shots of the sun and they're getting a lens flare and capturing the lens flare and saying, oh, I captured Nibiru. Now at this time frame in 2017, this is right before the Revelation 12 star alignment, there were a lot of scholars that were looking for the dragon, because in the Revelation 12, it says a woman stood with the moon at her feet, bathed in the sun and a crown of 12 stars. Then another sign appeared. There were two signs. The woman, then the dragon stood in front of the woman. Well, this is standing 13 days in front of the woman. This is the dragon standing in front, 13 days in front of the woman. I was shown this by just divine power, okay? And I was told to warn everybody about this. Now, I had no idea how to warn people about this or even address this subject because I'm not a Nibiru guy. All right. I've been plagued with UFO activity my whole life. I knew UFOs were real since I was a very young child. All right. I had very disturbing encounters, daylight encounters as a young child. So I knew UFOs were real. Okay. And I was a ufologist at this time. So I wasn't a big Nibiru believer, Nibiru guy. All right. Because I'd seen all this fakery. But this isn't fakery. This is on NASA's satellite. This is the dragon standing in front of the woman. And then the next object back behind it, this bigger one. Okay. So I see the first image and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Nibiru. I see. Oh, I see. There is something wrong with this image. Then the voice says, keep looking. There's more. So I keep looking and I get to this frame. And there's something wrong with this image too. And I'm like, why is this solar flare bending and doing this S shape with this gap in the middle, right? Oh, now you can see there's a bigger round spheroid right here. Plasma is draping over the top, wafting off the top like we're used to seeing in our difference models all the time. Note the date, September 10th, 2017. Nibiru and Nemesis the Destroyer. It's way bigger than the sun. And nothing can influence the sun unless it's stronger than the sun, right? Well, here's an object that's much bigger. It actually fits the definition of a lot of different objects: neutron star, black hole, stellar core, red dwarf, or all kinds of different definitions can apply to this object. This object is doing different kinds of things in physics. It's massive, it's black, it's dark, it absorbs light, it doesn't reflect light, you can't see it. But when it interacts with the sun and plasma drapes over it, much like an invisible table, you can't see it. But if you throw a tablecloth over it, then it paints the edges and the corners and gives you an idea of the contour, the shape of it. Now you can see your spheroid shape because of the plasma draping over it. It's a black hole. A black hole is not a hole in the fabric of space-time like Walt Disney would have you believe, or Hollywood. If you really know astrophysics, a black hole is a super dense spheroid. Super dense. Denser than lead. Denser than any kind of matter that we have on this planet. It's so dense that it absorbs light. It doesn't reflect light, so you can't see it. Instead of black hole, it should be called a black sphere. It's a deceptive term. And what you're looking at is basically fits the definition of a black hole. It's ripping plasma off the sun and draping over it. There's a conduit of plasma hitting the surface, this tube hitting the surface and spreading out in a circular fashion around it. Okay, this is where my life changed right here. When I saw this image and the voice told me, you got to warn people about this, I'm like, are you kidding me? How am I going to do that? Well, I finally made this video. It took a lot to put this together. I didn't do a very good job, but back at these days, I was just practicing with little lizard videos and hot rod videos. And this is like my first solar report right here because this changed my life. And it's a warning to the world. This is the dragon of Revelation 12 everybody saw the woman and they missed the dragon. And I heard that term. They all saw the woman and they missed the dragon. You have to warn them. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I do. So there's where everything started right here on this date, 13 days before the Revelation 12 sign. Okay. Does everybody here understand the Revelation 12 star alignment? Let's just do a quick one. It's only 5 minutes. But it helps with the explanation because I want you to note the date.
On September 23rd, 2017, the sun, moon, and stars will... On September 23rd, 2017, the sun, moon, and stars will align.
On September 23rd, 2017, 13 days later, what I showed you was on the 10th of 27, September 10th. So 13 days later, the Revelation 12 star alignment took place. It actually took place. A 2,000-year-old prophecy came true on September 23rd. This was one of the signs. There was a great sign in heaven.
A 2,000-year-old prophecy. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God, and to his throne. Before you click off this video, I understand there's been many false predictions, false prophecies over the years. This is different. Bear with me and see. First, you need to understand that God made the sun, moon, and stars, and they all obey his order. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the host of them by the breath of his mouth. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion?
Okay, that's
Canst
good.
thou bring...
You can come over and watch this little video. There's all kinds of Bible verses that connect to all this, but here is your configuration with Jupiter rotating through the stomach region for 9 months, and then she gave birth. Okay, so there's the second part. So first was the dragon, then was the woman. Okay, then just after that, I want to come over to my channel now. Okay, just kind of taking you through, well, a testimony of what happened to me. Okay, physically happened to me. It's happening all around you, but physically happening to me. It's much scarier. It's very painful. It's just aggravating when nobody believes you, yet you're going through it. They see you all going through it, and they don't believe you, even though they see you. And I got all this evidence, and they still don't understand. So it can be test your patience at times. Okay, now as I open up this latest little video right here, what I want to do is a little smaller in the frame size, please. I want the theater mode. Okay, hopefully just up above here, just out of frame, but you can barely see it, is October 4th of 2017. This is 11 days after the Revelation 12 star alignment. So first was the dragon, then the woman, and then this. Okay, this is October 4th, 2017. Got volume a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Image here, you can see we're still in the garage with our same display right here, and this was actually captured the day before the other picture, but I hadn't found it for years later until I was digging around through my my old pictures and stuff, and went even further back to see if I'd missed anything, and I captured this one. And we're going to zoom into this streak right up here, this one right here. Just bear with me for a second here. Now, hopefully, you can see that we have a lady's profile here. Here's her eye, here's her forehead, her snub little nose, here's the bottom jaw. She's smiling, she's looking down, and she's holding a baby. And here's the baby's head right here. Here's the face, the back of the head. Here's her arm cupped around like this, and she's holding the baby. Now I'm going to run this through the filter real quick, and it's going to enhance it, but a little bit too much. But see, now you can really make out her profile a lot better and see her face, and her headdress is coming over and going down back behind her. And you can still make out the baby's head right here. And maybe if I pull back a little bit, there we go. And this was captured on October 4th. So this was about 11 days after the Revelation 12 sign. All this stuff started happening to me just prior to the Revelation 12 sign, and then right after it. So it said the woman was about to give birth. Well, it looks like maybe she gave birth, and here's the little baby being caught up to God and his throne. Yep. It's a lot better there. Hopefully you guys can see this a little bit better now than before. We'll undo the filter real quick just so you can get the original. Now you can see the baby's head just a little bit better. You can make out his little ear. And then we'll put the filter back in again. And there we go. There's your Revelation 12 baby being born right there in my garage, caught on my security camera. So that's it for now. My next video. Okay, then the next day, the old photos and running them. The very next day, on October 5th, can you see this barely up there in the corner? October 5th of 2017. So that baby was born on the 4th, and then the next day this event happened. And this was one of the first ones that I had ever captured. And what's going on here is I'm here on my knees. I'm crying and screaming and praying, all three at once. I thought I was going to die. I was in some extreme anguish. A paranormal traumatic event happened to me, something so unbelievable you guys wouldn't believe it. So if I told you, so I'm going to show you instead. So in this image here, I'm sitting here praying, and Mary's head appears right next to my head, and we're going to zoom in on this. You can't go in too tight on it, but she's looking down at my head this way. Let's see, there's pretty good. And you can make out her eye and her nose coming down, her shawl coming over, and it's in shadow right here. This is a shadow of the inside of her shawl going over her head like this. Here's her eye, her nose, her other eye would be on the other side there. Okay. You can't go in too tight on it. And then also is this white ball with an eye in it, this white orb with an eye in it. Okay, and that's not all, because over here in this corner up here is an angel. The silhouette of an angel with his wings spread, with his back to us, standing in a shaft of light. Here's his head. There's the wings are extended, and there's a feather coming off. The last feather coming off is crossing over these brown roof tiles in the background here. And you can make out there's an angel right here, and you can even see his head right here. Going a little bit tighter. So there's the angel with his back to us and his wings spread. Yeah, you can see a lot better with the filter. Before it was really faint and it was hard to see. Same with this. This came out a little bit better here. Yeah, there's Mary looking down at my head because I was in anguish. I mean, what happened to me was just, yeah, was paranormal and quite excruciatingly painful, and people didn't believe me. That was the hard part. So let's move on now. So we got all that part out of the way. Then after that, let me just show you one more little quick angel here, because these are good little images. These are real security camera photos. This is admissible as evidence in a court of law, not her armpit, but the coming video here. Enough with your ads, you guys. Ugh. So, like, no class. All right, here we go with this one. To show you this one, this is an angel that was captured on my security cameras, and now I've run it through the filter here. So if you turn your head to the right, about 45 degrees, you can make out the head, the hair, the breasts, it's a female, the torso, the waist, the legs. Let me blow that up just a tad bit. Back it up just a little bit. Try it again. Here. So if you turn your head to the right, about 45 degrees, you can make out the head, the hair, the breasts, it's a female, the torso, the waist, the legs coming down here, a wing coming off here, a wing coming off over here. And we'll zoom in on this real quick, because this one's nice and clear that you can. Okay, and this is an angel that was caught hovering in a shaft of light over this sleeping child down below here. So zoom in on it again. Just excited that you can see it a lot clearer now, because before it was kind of faint, and now with... All right, so there's angel activity happening all around me, everywhere I go. All right, now also with our latest UFO activity, I have UFOs that watch and follow me everywhere I go. In fact, let's just do really quick UFOs and angels. Oh, and angels. And these are all videos that are on my channel. You can come right here and type in stuff at that little question, or the little search icon right here. So a lot of these pictures, when these events are taking place, you see this eye starting to form right here, and a nose right here, and a mouth starting to form. You can see that there's a face starting to take place in the sky right here, right? So I'm pulling out my camera and I'm going to start taking pictures of this event as it unfolds. But also happening all the time is this UFO activity. But something else appeared in this picture, and I'm going to pull over to this little object that's hovering over the mountain here. Okay, same craft I've seen since I was a young kid. Clear UFO, black disc, floating in the sky next to this event. Now, something else I've noticed is a lot of these UFO captures that people are capturing on sending on here in this image. So a lot of these UFO captures that people are capturing and sending into UFO channels, I dare you guys to look at the cloud structure in the background, because the UFO is trying to draw attention to the sky. So you'll look up to the sky and maybe possibly see the face in the clouds that's behind it. Okay, so this is chock full of different angels in the clouds, different UFOs that I've captured. Okay, this activity follows me everywhere I go. Okay, UFOs follow, watch, and study me every move I make. All right, and then another little ditty really quick we're going to do. We have visitors. You guys are hanging in there. Some of you guys find this stuff fascinating. Others are just waiting for the spiritual report. So bear with me here. Okay, other type of UFOs. Now, you see this, and this would be the head. Okay, you see this cloud structure right here? Right here. This grasshopper looking flying machine. All right, we're going to play this just really quick here to report on today, and that's good because I had a revelation last night, and what I'm about to show you is going to knock your socks off. So a couple of days ago, I was doing a video on these kind of craft exiting the sun, which looked like it was being towed out from behind the sun or something, and I did a video on that one, and that's just this one right here, and it looked like it was this actual that I used as a thumbnail on my latest stream. That's when it occurred to me, this thing sitting next to this one, they're the same object. It's the same thing. It's the same craft. Whoever made this craft right here is here now. And what I thought was a man standing on the plane before is actually one of the vertical stabilizers that comes out at an angle, kind of like an F-18's vertical stabilizers. They're not straight up and down vertically, they come out at an angle. Well, much like that, so do these ones right here. And what I thought was a man standing up is this vertical stabilizer right here. Okay, so we have a perfect match. Yes or no? I would say that is a dang perfect match to that trinket, right? That golden trinket is a toy or something that they made for kids or whatever to Well, to recognize the encounter that they had 1,000 years ago. That's an advanced race that could fly 1,000 years ago. Dragon-headed planes that flew 1,000 years ago. So I have advanced races from the past that watch, follow, and study my every move. So not just UFOs. I also have advanced races from the past too that watch, follow, and study my every move. It's at first it was very unnerving and very disturbing, and especially when no one will believe you, and you're still going through it while going to jail and going through institutions, all that great stuff, and still having this activity haunting you. So anyway, it's another little thing right there. UFOs follow me, advanced races from the past. They all watch, follow, and study my every move. Okay, because of who I am. Let's go ahead and get on into our spiritual report now. I'll pull open this one. I've shown you the giant faces, the clouds that follow me everywhere I go. They watch, follow, and study my every move. And then all of a sudden, the giant faces start turning into my face in the clouds. If we could just endure more ads. All right, here we go with this. All right, we're not even going to play the full video. I just want to get a little bit up closer picture. There we go, right there. All right, that'll be used for our reading here in a minute. Let me open up some other pictures really quick. Very, very weird when it's physically happening to you. Okay, you can read all about it in the Bible and stuff, and then when it, a angel pops out in your room and nobody believes you, you're like, what am I going to tell them? How am I supposed to tell them? Capture as much as you can and do the best you can at trying to present it in a way that people can grasp it, because it seems a little too good to be true, and too good for you, but excruciatingly painful for me. All right, here we go. This is another set of series of pictures that I take. You all know this. So we got that one, and we got that one, and we're going to town. All right, so let me pull up some reading material here. We also have my face showing up out by the moon. Pull that one up, but I got enough with this. What's this other one? You threw this one at me. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm definitely reading this one because it kind of got tossed at me here. So let me pull this down. All right. Now, we got a lot of activities that take up our day, right? We very busy people. So we always trying to like squeeze more into a day than we can. Sometimes I know I get caught up in it. I get very, very busy, and I'm trying to rush things. I want to be ahead of schedule so I can take on more added things that'll be added to the list. So I try to, work things out before their time. So I get caught up in that, and I know you guys do too sometimes. So stop trying to work things out before their times have come. Accept the limitations of living one day at a time. When something comes to your attention, ask me whether or not it's part of today's agenda. If it isn't part of today's agenda, then release it into my care and go on about today's duties. When you follow this practice, there will be a beautiful simplicity about your life. There's a time for everything and everything in its time. A life lived close to me is not complicated or cluttered. So when your focus is on my presence, many things that once troubled you lose their power. The things that trouble you lose their power over you. So though the world around you is messy and confusing, remember that I have overcome the world. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. Okay, I have overcome the world. You guys are practicing this discipline of salvaging your day. And when you salvage your day and you refuse to let the world beat you down and make you depressed, you are overcoming the world, aren't you? You're overcoming the adversities that the world throws at you. You're overcoming the world. So these are the tools. I have overcome the world. Now you are overcoming the world because a life lived close to me is not complicated and cluttered. You focus on my presence, and the things that troubled you lose their power. When the things that trouble you lose their power, you have overcome the world. Okay? So I'm talking to you guys, all right? I am taking good care of you. Trust me in all times, trust me in all circumstances, and trust me with all your heart. When you are weary and everything seems to be going wrong, you can still utter these four words, I trust you, Jesus. By doing so, you release matters into my control, and you fall back into the security of my everlasting arms. Do you get it? I trust you, Jesus. You relinquish control, you give it to me, and you can rest in my everlasting arms. You see that heart of love right there? Those everlasting arms tearing open the shirt right there, showing you love. Okay, so when you're weary and everything seems to be going wrong, utter the words, I trust you, Jesus. When you do that, it releases matters into my control, and you get to fall into the security, not back into stress. You get to fall into security. So every day when you get up, I have already arranged the events of your day. Every day provides many opportunities for you to learn my ways and grow closer to me. Signs of my presence brighten even the dullest day when you have eyes that see. So search for me as for hidden treasure, and I will be found by you. Okay, and then so every time something thwarts your plans or your desires, use that as a reminder to communicate with me. This practice has several benefits. The first is obvious. Talking with me blesses you and strengthens our relationship. Another benefit is that disappointments, instead of dragging you down, are transformed into opportunities for good. Bingo. Your disappointments are now opportunities for good. There are no such thing as disappointments anymore. Scrubbed all that away, washed all your disappointments away because they are not disappointments, they are opportunities for good. When you salvage this transformation, you salvaging your day, turning it around, this transformation removes the sting from difficult circumstances, doesn't it? It does when you practice it. When you look at your disappointments as opportunities for good, that transformation removes the sting. It removes it from all difficult circumstances, making it possible now for you to be joyful in the midst of adversity. Okay? Joyful doesn't mean you're singing a song and laughing and dancing, a jig, but you're enduring it. You're seeing it for the opportunity of growth that it is. So you are practicing the disciplines that makes you a disciple by default. So practicing the disciplines in a little is so you practice these disciplines makes you a disciple, making it possible for you to find joy in the midst of your adversity. You are glorying in your tribulation. So begin by practicing this discipline in all the little disappointments of daily life. That's where you start. Start practicing it in the little daily disappointments. Okay, because they're all over the place. Little daily disappointments. Up, shoot, thought that was going to happen. It starts to get to your nerves. Those are those little ones, you work on those, okay? Because it's often these minor setbacks that draw you away from my presence. And when you reframe setbacks now as opportunities, you find that you gain much more than you have lost. Don't you? Your setbacks or opportunities? Well, shoot, you have no choice to gain more than you've lost by default. So it's only after a lot of training that you can accept major losses in a positive way. But it is possible to attain the perspective of the Apostle Paul, who wrote, compared to the surpassing greatness of knowing Christ Jesus, I consider everything I once treasured to be as insignificant as rubbish. All these things that you treasure, that you don't know, but you're holding on to these headlines and it's stressing you out. You're kind of glomming onto those headlines, or dramatic events in our news or whatever. You cling to them sometimes. So that's almost kind of a way to a slight way of treasuring them. Okay, you're not totally in love with them, but you do give it your attention. So every time that happens, this is a training opportunity. Okay. Where else did I have for you? And when you see that all these treasures that you're achieving compared to the headlines of the news, the headlines of the world events are rubbish compared to this right here. They are. This is the biggest headline in human history right here, except for 2,000 years ago. But in modern days, this is the biggest headline in human history. Yet nobody knows. Well, few people do. And that's the treasure right there. Everything else is insignificant rubbish. You're overcoming adversity. You're going from glory to glory is the only thing that counts. Everything else is rubbish. So it's important that you understand and then find peace. And when you're doing your daily walk peacefully with me through each day. Now you're wondering how you'll cope with all that's expected of you. So you must traverse each day like any other, one step at a time. Instead of mentally rehearsing how you'll do this or that, keep your mind on my presence and on taking the next step. The more demanding your day, the more help you can expect. This is a training opportunity. And since I designed you for deep dependence on your shepherd, challenging times now wake you up and amplify your awareness of needing my help. These troubling times right now amplify your awareness of needing my help, don't they? And doesn't this help? That's why you're here, because you're finding the help that this provides. The real thing, right? So, walk peacefully with me. And when you don't know what to do, wait while I open the way before you. Trust that I know what I'm doing and be ready to follow my lead. I will give strength to you and I will bless you with peace. Okay, each day has enough of its own. You get enough strength for each day. So every time something thwarts your plans, it's a reminder to communicate. Setbacks are now opportunities. Disappointments, there are no disappointments. Instead of disappointments dragging you down, Use them, transform them into opportunities for good. That's when you ask the Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, what is this opportunity for good that hides in this disappointment? Because there's no way there's an opportunity for good in this disappointment that I'm looking at right now. But there is. So when you start to transform your disappointments into opportunities for good, you reframe your setbacks as opportunities now. You just, everything loses its sting, it loses its power over you. Um, oh, we got that already. Okay, so I think that's enough for the reading right there. Let's go stumble through a few more pictures, shall we? So, you guys are doing really well at this, and many of you have found these disciplines are indeed the tools that help you live freely and peacefully. This is stuff that should have been taught in school, okay? But they missed the entire bus. All right, so this is all stuff that should have been taught to you through school and everything, and you can see with our society why it was taken out, huh? They didn't want you to know that you have the ability to control your emotions, to walk through a bad day, turn it around, that you can make uh, opportunities out of your mistakes and difficulties, that everything that you go through is for a reason. It's adversity that you overcome. And every time you overcome it, you get a little crown and you get a little picture like this. And you just go from victory, which is a glory. You overcame the world. You didn't let it get you down. So you had a victory. That's a glory. So you go from glory to glory to glory while you're in tribulation. Okay, that's how it works. You guys are doing awesome at this too. That's the best part, is that you guys are finding results. That's what makes me happy. Not that you're giving me likes, not that you're doing all this stuff. It's that you are finding results. I want you to have that peace that overcomes your circumstances. And this is how it's done. This is the only way it's done. And if you want this, what I have, you just stick around until it takes effect. Okay. What you're looking at is my face in the clouds with a crown over it. This happened on April 17th, 2020, right after Easter, right around Easter, on Easter, because this is a 2,000-year-old prophecy that came true. Regardless of the calendar date, God works on a celestial calendar. This is Easter. 2,000-year-old prophecy come true? Yeah, that's my face in the clouds coming with power and great glory. Now, when you see this, it's intriguing, it's fascinating. You get caught up in it like a good song or a good book or even a good live YouTube stream. You get caught up in it. It takes you away from your circumstances for a while. You are seeing my face coming in the clouds with power and great glory. If you find this fascinating, you are caught up with me in the clouds. I We meet in the air of cyberspace because I'm almost paralyzed. I can't even barely move, so I can't come over to your house and give you a big hug right now. But I can meet you in the air of cyberspace, where I have gone ahead and provided a place that where I am, you may be also. Right here, right now, in my presence at the present moment. There's your joy. There's your strength. There's your peace. When you know that you are in my presence right now, should soothe you, calm you, give you peace, give you courage, strength, fortitude. Okay? And and guess what? It's all real. It's all true. It's all coming down. It's all happening. And since you guys gave me a moment of your time that I could not get from any kind of authorities or any kind of close family, you know what I'm saying? That makes you closer than my bloodline. So you are family. You are my family that I meet in the air. Okay, so congratulations. There is no rapture. The word rapture is not in the Bible. Okay, and everybody keeps throwing that word out: post-trib, pre-trib, rapture this, rapture that. The rapture should be happening at any moment. Well, it is. At any moment, you could see my face coming in the clouds and believe me and trust me. The moment you believe me and trust me is the moment you are caught up. Okay? The rapture technically is happening right now. It's happening all the time. It's an ongoing thing. That's why there's no date or time. It's an ongoing event. So, you see me coming in the clouds with power and great glory. You're caught up with me coming in the clouds. You are met me in the air of cyberspace where I went and provided a space that where I am, you may be as well. That makes you a member of a very special royal family. You're a spiritual warrior who refuses to be depressed, who refuses to slide into that slippery hole of self pity. And the moment you start to do it, back away from it. Take a moment, say a few prayers. Jesus, I trust you. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It's not just an AA saying, it's a real prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept there are things I cannot change. It's usually people, places, and circumstances you can't change. But there is one thing you can change, and that's you. You can refuse to tuck your tail and be, depressed. You can stand up, lift up your head, look up into your clouds. You'll see me coming with power and great glory. And you'll start to practice these disciplines. When you practice these disciplines, by default, that makes you a disciple just because you practice them. Now you're a disciple, finding victory, going from glory to glory while you're in tribulation. It's to soften the blow, it's to take the sting out, and it's working, isn't it? That's why you're here. Because I do love you. I do this for you guys so that you may find what I have found. Okay? Is that it, Lord? You're running motor mouth tonight? Is that enough? Is that it? I think we might be done there. Let's go for a little tour some more. Okay. Something else that's part of this, now that we got to that part, we're going to have to touch base with this stuff a little bit. Sorry, we have to. I'm not a big fan of demons and principalities, but it's very important that you guys know that there's the negative side, that these are principalities that are affecting your moods, that are attacking you spiritually. It's spiritual warfare for real. Let's just play this a little bit. And not only were we finding angels and Mary and stuff, but there's also demons, and I've also found Satan in this stuff too. So as we're looking here at this picture, what I'm talking about is in this mosaic of blotchy white dots. Actually, that you see this big picture is comprised of. Too zoomed in. Zoom in really tight in on a picture, you'll see that it's made up of these splotchy little patches and dots. These new digital cameras make these little blotches. Well, hiding in these blotches are faces. And if you haven't seen it yet, there's an eye right here, an eye right here. And when you make eye contact with these two eyes right here, you'll see the mouth fall into place down here. It's snarling. If you look, it's got some kind of streaks or horns or something, or wrinkles coming out of its head up here. And this is some kind of demon or principality. You know, other people refer to them as principalities, but this is what I'm talking about. And hopefully you can see this here. This is a pupil right here of an eye. This is a pupil of a bigger eye. Here's the whites of the eye, the white of this eye. These two eyes. Once you look at those, you'll see it falls into place.
Maybe I'll pull back a little bit.
Okay.
You can see a little bit better. Zoom in.
All right. This is the part where we got to deal with this, but let's just get it out of the way here. All right. So you seen that one principality? There's this other demon attacks here.
My camera pointed at the couch now because I've been capturing activity around this couch. And one night I was just sitting on my couch there praying and wasn't really thinking of capturing anything. Here I was just sitting here praying before I started taking pictures or doing my thing, and it was already running. And lo and behold, there's some kind of demon up here. You'll see some green wings over here kind of flapping, and it lifts up my bike and spits a bolt of energy on it. And I had no idea this happened until I went back through my pictures and stuff. And I put this series into motion in a flip book. And I realized, oh my goodness, look what happened. It picked up my bike and spit a bolt of energy on it. This one, you can't really see the face too well, but you can make out the wings kind of flapping. Maybe we'll pull it over this way a little more. There we go. And this thing turns, picks up my bike, lifts it up, and spits a bolt of energy on it.
Okay. One more here. All right, so.
Okay, in this series here, I'm sitting on the couch again praying, the camera's set up, and you'll see a purple streak, a bolt come in here, right there, boom. And it hurt. You can see my reaction to it. So we'll let it run again. Here I am sitting here praying. There's all kinds of stuff jumping around in the background, and then zap right there. And that was a real one. I could feel it. And now when I go back, we're gonna go back to the top of that bolt and zoom in on the face. Okay, so here's the frame out of that sequence of me getting hit with that bolt. You can see the bolt coming down here. It's got a kind of a purple hue to it or whatever. And then we're gonna start zooming in to the face up top here, and it's gonna be Satan's face. So you guys ready to see this? If not, you might wanna stop the video at this point. But I do not glorify this at all. I do not like to give him attention, but it's important to know that he's real, because he wants everybody to think that he's not real. I think you might be able to see this face without me pointing anything out yet. There we go. Okay, so let me zoom out so I can see it. If you look right here at this eye, this is his crazed eye. The other on the other side is bigger. It's the all-seeing eye. It's a little out of proportion, but then you can make out the side of his face, his jawline coming down, the bottom of his chin, his face going up here. Here's his mouth with some evil kind of grin on it. You can see his ear coming out over here. You can make out horns coming up. And this is in that mosaic of dots again, but these faces pop out and they're more prominent. You can see this one really
Okay, enough of that character. You can see him attacking me, right? You see that bolt, we spit it out, it comes down, hits me, you see me react. It getting attacked by principalities and demons, okay? So are you guys. That's what's happening. When you become a believer, well, the other side comes at you, all right? That's why you need your spiritual work as well, because you're not only is the Schumann resonance ringing your bell, you got demon attacks coming at you. People are starting to succumb to these and being possessed and coming at you at weird ways now, okay? That's why this spiritual work is so important. Okay, you're going to need it. It's going to give you an anchor. It's going to give you a rock, a foundation on which you can build on, and a foundation which you can lean on, okay? And that's how you're going to make it through these coming days, is with this discipline, okay? No matter what circumstances you're in, you can use this. It applies everywhere, all the time. All right, that's it for tonight, I think, because my voice is starting to cut out a little bit. So I love you all. I miss you all. You are indeed part of a royal family. You are caught up with me in the clouds. We're in the air of cyberspace, live streaming on YouTube, where I made a channel that where I am, you may be also. Feel free to click through videos and stuff and do some research on my channel too. If you see something I pulled up that you want to look into with more detail, come on over. You could even click into the search bar here and type in titles if you want to, and just go search around. These are all older videos. Most stuff is under live now, okay, because I do live streams instead now. I do have stuff on the community page, picture or music with the code in it, okay? All sorts of messages in the music as well as the code in the music. Images that I've captured myself. This one you can barely see, but you can see it there. Barely. And, just little community posts, all kinds of stuff I put over here as well. Images that we've captured, auroras, faces in the clouds that I've captured, a lot of stuff over here and stuff as well. So I do have other little things, lots of important information in all these lives. Every single one of them is just chock full of information. So I think that's it for tonight. I love you all. I miss you all. And until my next show, I will be back. I'm a man of my word, and I said I would be back. Well, I am already back. Can't you tell? I came back right there. I'll be back, and then it cuts out, and I come right back. Oh, YouTube. Anyways, how awesome is that, huh? That's it for tonight, you guys. I love you all. I miss you all. And until my next show, I will be back. I love you all. Bye.